Hello everyone, I'm Women's Grandmaster Sabina Foisor here at the St. Louis Chess Club, and you are going to be watching games that everyone should know. So before I get started, let's see if anyone would like to guess the player that I chose for today's lecture. Yes? You know, nobody discussed female chess players, and I think there are a lot of great games by very strong female chess players that would be nice to be seen and known, and I thought I would do that. So I like changes, and I think it's nice to support women's chess as well. Yes, I chose Ruy Fan and Judit Polgar, but first Judit Polgar, and I'm not quite sure if we'll have the chance to go over all of the games, but I would like to start with one of Judit Polgar's games. So let me ask you first, is everybody familiar with Judit Polgar?
Oh, yes.
Of course, good. So she was one of the strongest chess players of all time, and she still is, I think. As a kid, I had her poster next to my bed, and there was this article that came out in a famous chess magazine, and I cut it, I taped it next to my bed, and that was my inspiration, you know, to try to become a stronger chess player. And she broke a lot of, records, by becoming, at her time, one of the youngest, if not the youngest, grandmaster. And she recently, I think, 3 years ago, she retired from competitive chess, but she's still training the Hungarian chess team, males chess team, in Olympiad and European championships, and she's just amazing. So this game was played by her in 1988. So she played this in the Olympiad, and she played on board too. She was 12 years old, I believe, 12 or 13 years old when she played this game, and actually she received the prize for the best game of the tournament, and it's attacking chess. I chose her because I know how a lot of us really like attacking chess, and she was a great attacking chess player. Of course, there are so many great things that I can say. So let's look at the game. Let's let the game speak for itself. So you can also see on the screen that she won the Brilliancy Prize for this game at the Olympiad, and she scored 12.5 out of 13. And by the way, Hungarian team then, female chess team, so there was 3+1, I believe, 3 players plus 1 alternate. They won the gold medal, which is something that had never happened in female chess, anyone else than the USSR to actually win the gold medal in the Olympiad. So they really broke, the Polgar sisters have broken a lot of records. So, okay, so E4, C5. Everybody excited about the opening?
Yes.
Great. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Okay, a lot of top grandmasters I've noticed they're not very excited about this bishop b5 in general with either colors, but I think this is a pretty cool dynamic chess, especially this game. Castle, bishop g7, c3. It's pretty clear what is white's plan next, right? To play d4. So black played e5. What do you guys think about this move? This e5 move. So yeah, typically we don't see this e5 being played so much in this move order. I think when white wants to play d4, black typically plays with the pawn in d6, leaves this one in e7, or and tries to play with d5. I haven't seen e5 played so much, but I'm also not such a big Sicilian chess player, so I might be wrong. This type of system is played with black when white plays c4, so the English. So it's the Botvinnik system. But this way I was a little bit surprised to see. I think knight f6 mix is more popular here for black. Any of you that play this line that can confirm? Nope. Okay, well. Anyway, so black play d5. What do we play with white? d4. We're talking about a game that everyone should know. It's an attacking game. We are going to open up the center. We are going to be active. Like, you know, I wish I could play this kind of chess. So d4, opening up. I mean, you know, e5. Black is pushing. If you think about it, really, what is this e5 doing good for black? Well, trying to restrict d4. But what is doing bad for black is the fact that, okay, now the e file is going to be easily opened. Well, part of it, at least halfway, on the file of where the king is. Yeah, and the king is not out yet. So let's just try to open up the position. Especially because with white we have finished our development. I mean, we brought our king to safety. So if you have the opportunity to open up the e file, you know, we'll try to do it. And Judit was not, I mean, from the interviews that I've seen of her and the games, it doesn't seem that she was ever fearful of anything. And I think in some interviews she even says that she had, you know, she was not fearful of anything. And in this position, black captured with the e pawn, which I think wasn't really the best choice. I would have gone with the c pawn. And then after take, I would have, well, never mind. That was the line that I said. So you could have done the same. Why did I put it in this fashion? I don't remember. Sorry, guys. I don't remember why I said that it's a little bit better to take it with the c pawn. Okay. Probably because I meant that I think this is better for black, not capturing with the knight. I think that's the reason why I put it there. I'm sorry. So basically, c takes d4, c takes d4, e takes d4, and now if bishop f4, for example, knight g to e7. And the idea is you want to make sure you can castle, so you place your knight here to avoid some, you know, bishop d6 and restricting of your castling. And then once the knight is in e7, black should be fine, I think. You also, because you have these double pawns, I mean, currently you have an extra pawn, but you will want at some point to play d5, trade the pawn, and just have a balanced position and symmetrical. But in the game, as you can see, black took with the e pawn and now with the knight. What to do here with white? What did Judit do? Bishop c4. What else?
That doesn't work. b5. Yeah.
I like Claudio's knight c3.
Knight c3. Nice one. She took. Well, you don't really want to give this bishop right away, and well, you basically gave up a pawn, right? That was the reason why we said earlier e5 was to stop d4. So she's basically giving up a pawn, but she needs to get something in return, and she definitely does not want to give this bishop up. This bishop in b5, although it's true, it could be easily attacked with a6, b5 chased away from there. For the moment, white needs to get the initiative. When you sacrifice a pawn, you want to gain the initiative, you want to develop your pieces with tempo. And if you were to waste some time to move the bishop, I think black would simply, like, possibly trade, like, let's see. I think I could possibly trade, and knight f6 doesn't work, or no? Or maybe I need to trade the queens. Maybe I need to play something like queen f6 first, or queen e7, and then develop my knight. Maybe queen f6. And okay, black will struggle a little bit, but they do have an extra pawn, so. But by taking here, what do you think Judit had in mind if bishop takes d4? Pawn e5? Interesting. Interesting idea. And let's say I play something like this. It's pretty bad, but dynamic chess. Let's play dynamic. What do we do here?
Bishop g5 for white, maybe?
Bishop g5. You're
Yeah,
not scared of.
Giving up another pawn. Maybe just rook e1.
Knight c3 is also another option to finish the development. I think there are a lot of good options here for white. You maybe don't need to play e5 to kind of hang your pawn there. Maybe you can play knight c3 immediately, so that you can actually get the bishop out the next move if you want to. And also you have this outpost. For the moment, black cannot push the d pawn. And ideas with a6, b5, I think your bishop will be recycled that way. So anyways, black took the pawn. Moves. What move do we play here with white? e5. The same kind of idea. Can you take the pawn? Which one? Rook e1 or queen e2? Which one do we play?
Rook.
Good. And then f4. Or bishop f4. Probably f4. I mean, it makes more sense. And black cannot take the pawns like this with the king in the center and 0 pieces developed. Well, 1 piece developed as bishop in g7. So, knight e7 was black's answer. And now you're thinking, okay, black will castle and black's king is safe. Indeed, it is. Now, what do we do? Well, we cannot really stop black from castling anymore, so it's time to finish our development. Bishop g5, castle, and now she took her pawn back. So in this position, if we evaluate the position, who is better? White is slightly better. The pieces are a little bit more developed, but also, you know, if black finds a way to push d6 and trade that pawn, they would equalize the position. But it's not so simple to push the d pawn, right? That's why I was mentioning the other line that I thought black should have kept the knight in c6, because that knight was somehow protecting of the pin, so d6 would have, and also the knights were protecting each other. Just imagine black would have had the knight in c6, the knights protecting each other. It would have been much easier to push the d pawn. But this way, you know, it's pretty tough for black. However, Chilingirova, so Judit's opponent, found this idea with knight c6. I personally think knight f5 would have been slightly better, and you'll see as we go on to the game, you'll see why this move is slightly better. The knight is slightly better placed in f5. And now queen b6, and well, attack. And then I think it's pretty hard for white to stop d6 and equalizing. But maybe black thought the knight in c6 is going to be placed better because, well, it's developed there normally, and in f5 maybe they thought the bishop will be closed and won't be able to get opened. And also the knight in c6 attacks e5, so maybe, you know, black can win something. What do we do?
Queen h4, maybe.
Of course,
And
queen
that was
h4.
not possible with knight at f5.
That was also not possible. That is true. That move was also not possible. But also with the knight in f5, you're helping your d6 pawn, the d7 pawn to get to d6, and it's really important to realize that black wants to get rid of this is their problem. The pawn in d7 is their problem because it's isolated. It's restricting the bishop from c8 to get out, and it's just restricting also black's position, like overall, because if you don't get the bishop from c8 out, then how are your rooks going to get into play? So it was very important. Instead, black was a little bit more materialistic. I think girls in general, if you look like female players, I think we are more aggressive but also more materialistic in chess, and a lot of us are. Okay, queen a5, h4. There's nothing wrong to be materialistic, but you have to try to compare the different positions that you would get, and here, unfortunately, it's wasn't such a great decision for black. Queen b6. What do we do? Finishing the development, of course, knight c3. And now black blundered by capturing the pawn. Like I said, you got to be careful. What was the move? d5. Wanting to get rid of that pawn. Now, obviously, white cannot take here. I think it's pretty obvious. Why? The bishop? No? And now I think I can grab a lot of material. Where should I take first? b2 or e5? Where do you guys think? I would take here first, probably. And then e5. Plenty of compensation. That knight might even remain trapped. Now we possibly want queen takes a1. Can we take en passant? Why?
Bishop takes c3, followed by queen takes.
Well, if we take back, yeah, queen takes. But no, there's no mate. The queen comes. You can try this one though. How does black save herself? Okay, so I have a question for you guys. So for example, can black play rook e8? Is this, yeah? Queen f6? Okay.
Now look at
E1. Oopsie. Gotta be careful. Who is winning now? So, well, how do we protect with black? This is clear, right? White is going to checkmate. Either here or here. Or win your queen. Up to you. So how do we protect with black after bishop h6?
f5.
f5. Pawn to f5? There's no necessity, to weaken your position. I mean, there's a threat,
Yeah, queen.
the rook and queen f6 ideas, but you can also, can't you play, for example, rook here?
Sure.
Because now if queen f6, now you go queen to e5, and now there's no trick on the 8th rank. There can still be something, but let's see if it works. So for example, takes. Does it work or no? Queen b5, yeah. But if you get super scared, you can also take and some piece here. No mate, right? Bishop d7, no mate. Extra piece, yeah. So there are a lot of ways through which black can defend. You can also give up the rook, right? I mean, maybe, yeah, it's not so beautiful to place the queen there, but if you find yourself in difficulty, you can always do things like this. If the queens are traded, then white can take, but black has sufficient material for the rook. So, yeah, that didn't work, but I think here white could take in c6, pawn takes c6 and knight a4, and try to play on the c file, try to improve the position of the knight in c5. You know, white has a slightly better position because although you have the pair of bishops, your bishops don't really have such great diagonals to be placed on. And these two pawns, although they might be looking strong, if white manages to blockade them, you don't do so much. This light square bishop doesn't have such a great diagonal. But in the game, black took bishop takes e5. What do you do with white? Let's see if you can play like Judit. So we have some candidate moves, I hear. Knight d5, knight e4. Are those good moves?
A4.
Pawn a4. Rook e1. Which one? The rooks? Very good. The thing is, you cannot do knight d5 or knight e4. You don't really have a serious threat. You're just giving the bishop up, right? I mean, right? So it's time to bring another piece to attack. Now, can you tell me what is white's threat?
Bishop takes c6, followed by rook takes.
Yes, but also not only bishop c6 and the rook takes e5, but also we can also have ideas with sacrificing the rook on e5 and then some bishop f6 ideas with ideas to try to attack the king, depending on how black places their pieces.
The rook left to e3 and h3.
Yeah. So bishop c3 was played in the game, was the move played in the game, but I want to see what is happening after d6. If black tries to protect the bishop that way, what do we do? But rook takes e5. You know, there's a reason for which your bishop belongs to g7. Because once you take it away from there, you're really weakening your king's position. So now rook takes e5, knight takes, oops. And mate is coming. I mean, oops, check and... Or check knight f6 also if I want another more beautiful one. I don't know which one is more beautiful, but once you get this kind of position with three pieces attacking and black's king restricted over there, you can choose what you like best if you want to make it pleasant. So, yeah, so you really need to be careful here with black. Suddenly, you know, it's not so defended anymore. Why did this happen to black? Because she didn't try to push the d pawn and get her bishop out. White has made a lot of moves with tempo and has given up the pawn to be able to get the pieces more towards the attack. I mean, this is very hard to play sometimes because you don't want to give up material. But if you have some serious ways in which you can attack your opponent's king, go for it. So remove the defender, yeah. So black thought, okay, at least I'm going to do stuff with tempo, so she took in c3. And now, of course, there's no possibility to attack. We don't want to give up material, so we take back. Technically, we did give up material, but what would happen? So in this position, black took queen takes b5. h5 was another option. I want to see how you would continue your attack. So bishop takes c6 and bishop or rook e7. Okay.
I don't want to free the bishop on c8 so easily. What about bishop c4 so that there's a pin on the f7 pawn?
Bishop c4, yeah, like you can keep your bishop, for example, if you want, but why not this move?
Sure.
So now if black takes, what do we do?
Queen f6.
Queen f6. We're not going for the rook in f8. We're going for the mate. And now with the rook in e1, we restricted black from coming back to protect. That king is on the other side of the board and the mate is there. So it's pretty bad. I think there's no defense here for black for this. And I really want to point out, some of you mentioned this move. No, please try to keep as many pieces on the board when you're attacking, and also when you make a trade, consider for whom it is better. First of all, you have a bishop and you're trying to give it up for a knight.
That's not doing it.
It's not. So I started, in order, even when I teach kids, in order to try to make them realize the difference between the two, because they're often taught that it's fine to put the bishop in b5 and take the knight in c6, or put the bishop in g5, take the knight in f6. The bishops are, I say they're 3 pawns and a quarter better than the knights, in order to emphasize on, really they are most of the time. So you really have to consider what are you getting for that trade. Yes, your bishop is attacked, but also by doing this you're slowing down a little bit your attack, and you would help them, like you guys said, to finish their development. So we don't want to make the trade. We better give up the bishop, let them spend some time to grab it and continue with our attack, than take that knight. Okay, so in the game after b takes c3, her opponent played queen takes b5. Let's hear some continuations here, guys. Bishop f6, one. Any other ideas? Queen h6, another nice one. Anything else? Rook to e3. Okay, that one might take a little bit of time, right? Because maybe d5 or d6. Okay, so we've got bishop f6, bishop h6, queen h6. Which one are we going for?
I like queen h6 because you don't want the queen coming over to h5, forcing the trade.
Okay, that's a nice decision. Everyone is going for queen h6.
So queen h6 and you play f5 to prevent bishop f6.
Yeah, but don't have bishop f6.
Oh, you still play bishop f6. Oh, that would be a check.
Yeah.
Queen h6. She played queen h6. Queen f5 was black's answer. So you want f5 here?
No, bishop f6.
Hmm? Yeah.
It says bishop f6.
You can say, ooh, I escaped. Not quite. And of course here also it didn't really escape. It is very hard, guys, if you have more than half of your pieces on the other side of the board. It's not going to work. And I would like to also mention, okay, this is going to bring up a very strong chess player, Levon Aronian, who has just won the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. I had the honor to be able to talk to him, and he showed not only me but some other strong chess players a position from that happened in one of his games, and he mentioned to us that he's talking to his pieces, or well, that the pieces talk to him, in the sense that it might sound strange when you think of it that way, but it's really like you are the one who basically creates all these strategies with chess. You try to improve your position, and you really need to make sure that all your pieces are coordinated. That's one of the the great benefit that we have, because we move them ourselves, but we really have to figure out where are they better placed and how do we want them to work together. And that just meant so much to me. It just made me realize, okay, that's great. That's a really great advice. I didn't consider it that way. You don't need to make it that personal maybe, but you really need to consider the coordination of your pieces. You really want them to work together. And here after queen h6, queen f5,
Rook E4.
rook e4, interesting. Any other ideas? Rook e3, okay. Same type of idea, okay.
Maybe another idea, H3.
H3, what would be the... Guys, why to move and win?
Queen takes, f8 check, king takes. Bishop h6 check, king g8, rook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Queen takes f8. You know, and it's 17 moves, okay? It's a great, and she was a kid. She was 13 years old. I mean, it's just amazing. Or 12 or 13. I don't want to say something. I think she was born in 78, so I think she was, or wait, no, 76. 76. I'll have to double check. But she was below. Anyway, she was very young.
It was in
Let's
July,
just-
I know that. She was
No. Yes, but I don't remember which year exactly, 76 or I think it was 76. So she was 12 years old when she played this game against a strong player. I think I haven't double checked the federation for which her opponent played. I think it was Russia. I'm not 100% sure. I mean USSR at that point, right? And yeah.
So
Queen.
She sacked the queen. For
She sacked the queen. Queen takes f8. Now maybe you understand why I love queen sacrifices.
Yes.
But anyways, well, obviously she can try to bring her rook on the h file, and probably she would win that way too. But why wait?
You have a forced mate, yeah.
You have a forced mate, and why do you have this mate? Because black has not finished their development. These pieces, especially because of this bishop in c8, black simply died with those two pieces there. It didn't talk to them, really. And that's the reason why, you know, from the start, so okay, after queen f8, her opponent resigned. But if we go back to the beginning, I had my games added here, and I didn't realize why, which is not so good for me. But that's the reason why I wanted black to keep this knight in c6. Because if the knight would have been here, now after knight g to e7, bishop d6, castle, your king is brought to safety. You still have your bishop in g7. You have the extra pawn, which eventually will be lost. But there won't be such a serious attack. For example, some games they were played here. White continued knight b d2, a6. Okay, now, it's a game. The game continues. This pawn will be moved. The bishop will be developed. It's not so easy for white to lead an attack. But taking out the bishop from the protection of the king too early has been devastating for black. And the young Judit was able to completely, destroy her opponents. So let's continue there with one more game that I have. This is a longer game, and you know that Garry Kasparov came back from retirement for this tournament in St. Louis, and I felt bad a little bit for choosing this game. But a lot of top players sometimes have stories among each other, which is kind of fun for the rest of us to watch, but in another way, it's not so great. And I hope if someone from Garry's team if this video ever will go online, I hope they will not, because they will not be mad with me or something. I did ask for a lot of signatures from him, so I feel bad. I need to show this. But I think it's always great to see a female chess player, role model for a lot of female chess players, to be able to take down the world champion. This was a match that was played between typically it was USSR against the world, but they played this in 2002, so this was just Russia versus the world, and Judit was playing, of course, for the world. He chose to play the Berlin. He chose it, which is a game. If some of you are familiar with the chess history, he lost his title because of the Berlin opening against Kramnik. Kramnik kept playing this with black, and with black he would hold the draw, right? It's like a wall, and then with white he managed to win game. So this was his opening choice. So Garry Kasparov went for the Berlin, knight f6, castle takes, now d4, knight there, takes, pawn takes in e5, knight f5. So this is the standard. There's theory till here. Queen takes, king takes, and knight c3. So everything is theory, still played nowadays. I think at some point it had a really good reputation, the Berlin, then it got a bad one, and now it's again very good for black. So if some of you are thinking of an opening to choose with black, this might be something you consider. Now, yes, a lot of people want to avoid the Berlin, or they here, like some people, I've seen some people try to play d3 or to try to avoid it, but anyways. So let's get to our game. So queen trades, knight c3, and okay, this is not an attacking game, but you can see that female chess players, especially Judit, is also very strong in positional chess too, and endgames. Like all parts of the games of the game are very important. So here, Garry played h6, but more recently people have played bishop d7 and king e8, if I'm not mistaken, with black in this position. But h6 was more popular then. Check, king e8, and the reason they play bishop d7 is that, by the way, that the king will go on that side of the board, on the queen side. But anyways, h3. It's pretty clear what white's plan is, right? Or not? To push some g4, chase the knight away. You're trying to get space. If we look at this position, I mean, why is this a playable position? Because typically you would say it's much better for white, because white has the majority on the king side, right? 4 versus 3, that's their plus. And black's majority on the queen side is basically blocked because these pawns are doubled. So with these kind of 4 versus these 3, it's almost impossible to create a pass pawn unless your opponent is very nice and just helps you. So the plus that black has is the pair of bishops. So that's kind of how things are being played here. So bishop e7, bishop e6 was another move that has been tried. Knight e2, knight h4. And again, you know, the theory, I've added some stuff, but we won't be able to go over all of it. More b6 is another plan for black. But in the game, Kasparov played knight h4. What do we do? Do we trade at knight or no?
Maybe centralize it.
Centralize or take?
I would take, because I guess want to keep the pawns aligned in front of my king.
Take. Bishop takes. Well, centralize was nice too, I think. This idea, by the way. I don't want to, you know, cut you guys off or something. I think this would have been nice as well.
What about after just knight f5?
Yeah.
Just go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to make a draw.
Against Kasparov, sure.
Yeah, but I don't think Judit, I've never seen her play for a draw. Like even later now, before retirement, I haven't really seen her play for a draw. I think she's always had this ambition of winning. So I don't think she would have gone. Knight takes h4, bishop takes h4, bishop e3. Development in everything. It doesn't matter what types of openings do you guys choose to play, just make sure you develop your piece. It's really, really important. So here, bishop f5, you know, for fun, I put this move as being a blunder. Hopefully all of you realize that this bishop remains trapped, so that bishop will be lost, right? So do not make a move like that. You have to be careful with black. If you're playing this opening, you don't want to lose pieces. So bishop f5. That's why sometimes it's hard for black to get their rooks out, but also white doesn't have really activity. So anyways, knight d4, and bishop h7 was played, g4. Now Judith starts getting her advantage on the space advantage on the king side. Bishop e7. What do we do?
Get away with that.
Knight f5, somebody said. f4, somebody said. Which one? Or
I like F4.
f4. Interesting. First bishop here, and then maybe a6, and then c5. I want, when I chase your knight away from here, because it's not an outpost, right? I don't want you to get active. And also I want to win your pawn in c2. I think if you're not paying attention on how you push the pawns, you leave that bishop active. That's not such a great idea, in my opinion, understanding this. So king g2, h5, knight f5. So she prefers to get the bishop with the trade than to let it active in e4. It can be a really annoying piece, that bishop. So now Garry obviously doesn't want to take here. Do you guys understand why this position is much better for him?
It's a pass pawn.
Yeah, you'll be able to create your passed pawn by pushing e6 at some point, and this bishop
You
doesn't do
also
much.
maybe do bishop d4 followed by f6, maybe.
Bishop d4 followed by f6, and also look at this king. I mean, we see it in e8 and we're thinking I really want to castle, but let's not forget the queens were traded, so you cannot. And because of that, it's you really are struggling with the king. That's why some people, like I told you earlier, they wanted to develop the bishop in d7 and try to move the king that way. Some people do that. You really want the e7 square, but you cannot really get it. So bishop f8, still you cannot get that e7 square. King f3. Improving the position. White is simply improving. It feels like she didn't do much other than improving the position of her pieces. And I think that's why I also chose this game, because it kind of shows that from really small advantage of space and of majority on the king side, you can get such a great position with white. But okay. It's playable for black, like I said. There are some other lines. Rook d2, takes, check. Where do we move the king? f4? Or g2? You want to go to f4? Can I push f6? And then maybe trying to take in f5 and get my bishop out if you push e6. I'm thinking. She went king g2, now king g3. This is a very nice idea. Chase the rook away and then don't let it be active. No activity for the rook. And if we look at black's pieces, it really feels like they don't do anything. Now if we play also this move, that rook will not be able to exit. f6, bishop f4. Maybe e6 could have been slightly better. Takes, rook e1. I like this move. Trying to utilize that king. So you still cannot bring your rook to d8. I really think black should try to find a way to get that rook out, but as you could see, there's no moment where that move worked. Maybe here. Instead of f6, maybe this. So what would we do here with white? I think I can take.
Just trade off a pair of rooks there.
Yeah.
You wanna keep
What do? You take with the king, right?
And then bishop
Well,
g5.
No, check here first.
Yeah.
Where do you move your king?
Yeah.
Just to make sure, you know why I give the rook first and not the bishop? To make sure this king doesn't get to e6. Although it might not matter, but just to make sure it doesn't. And then I want to play, yes, bishop g5, and it's impossible to stop that. So it's very tough for black. So this is kind of the only way to try to escape the situation. And, you know, this trade seemed to have been fine for black. But now after rook e1, bishop takes. Now if you take, you're losing, right? Because my rook just takes, king somewhere, okay? This, ooh, sorry, I'm sorry, that was a mouse slip, definitely not that one, okay? And then everything falls, everything. It's terrible. Judith simply kept her position active and restricted black, Garry, and what to do? So he played king d7, c4, she is going for it. c5, takes, and now we've got a weakness which you cannot protect, so rook e6. Okay, check. And you don't really have much on this h file, so she played rook d5, going for the next weakness. Check, check, and the king simply hides. And b6. Now, obviously, if we give some check here, what do we do with white? I think so. And now? E6 or E5? Which one? E6. I like E6 because if takes, you want to take back with the pawn, have your pass pawn ready. So this position, he played B6. Check. Getting the 7th rank. And the king is so strong, and now it will be able to hide. She will be able to hide the king. Rook h2. I think against this check, what would Judith have done? What do you think? Well, there's a move I know for sure you wouldn't have done, king d5, right? She would not have played that one. Yeah. But rook e6. You know, she activated the right rook. There's a weakness here. And these cuts, restrictions on the 8th rank, are the worst. So just, you know, no checks that are helpful. Rook h4, f4, for example, or king e5. And white is winning with the f-pawn. Once you lose g7, it's over. So Garry tried to play a little bit more rook h2, rook there, threatening some mates, check. Now we have two mates in both sides of the board, b8 and g8, king there, and I don't know what happened, but okay, what does white need to do to win this? Just take, right? And then move the, you know, you can give check and grab that pawn too, it's over. So this is how she took down world champion. Well, former, at that point I think he was not the world champion anymore, so. Great, I hope you enjoyed this and see you next time.